podcast with Faisal Morsi. I'm your host, Faisal Morsi, and I'm excited for our guest today, Leo. Last name is pronounced Furest, right?
Yes, that's
Okay.
Spanish.
All right, perfect. Appreciate you coming on. You and I have been talking probably for like a year and a half now. You've been a great client of mine, and slowly as I've gotten to know you and your business, I've just been more and more intrigued. So I'm glad you took the time out to share your story.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me here. It's a really pleasure to be in the famous Pinpoint podcast.
Appreciate you. All right, so give me an idea. How did you get started and where did you come from?
Okay, so long story short, I was born and raised in Uruguay, South America. For those that don't know, but you should know, it's a little country between Brazil and Argentina. I have been always really curious about doing real estate in United States. I read a lot. I studied a lot while I was living there. And my real estate journey started in Detroit back in 2018 when I had the great idea of start doing remote investments, creating a rental portfolio, and also started doing some fix and flips in Detroit while living in Uruguay. So I used to spend 10 days in the States and 20 days back in my country with my family, etc. So moving forward, I've been living in Miami for the last 6 years. That made me move my business model after COVID hit. We had a really hard hit in Detroit, so part of the portfolio went into default, and we just got payments from the Section 8 tenants. We sold part of that toxic portfolio in terms of income. We just kept the good ones, but we kept doing some fix and flips until 2019. Then I moved all the business model to Florida, and I started doing fix and flips in South Florida. Miami-Dade County, Broward County, and Palm Beach County, essentially single families. And then in 2022, I co-created an investment fund, and we raised some funds to buy, renovate, and resell some properties in some specific areas needing housing solutions for veterans and FHA home buyers. You remember after COVID, market was crazy, and well, basically that was the way I started on real estate. Then everything unfolded, and we met when I had the specific needing of buying some data.
Amazing. And funny thing is, I was trying to think. I don't know how we ever got connected. Do you remember?
Yes, I do. Let's say that less than a year ago, I started with this idea of having my own in-house off-market deals to feed my fix and flip business in Florida. And that's when I think that someone connected us, one of these cold calling companies connected us, I think, and we started having conversations, and then I started buying data from you, and I saw it was really good, and we kept going and going. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It definitely rings a bell. So give me an idea when you were first starting, and the fact that you were starting off remote. Do you think that made you a better investor because of the fact that like you couldn't be there all the time?
I have a lot of lessons from that stage of my life. First is one of the things that I learned the hard way. When you are doing remote investments, the ones that are playing for you is your local management team. I had to pay a decent cost to learn that and to have many management teams. It's very time consuming and family time consuming, being third part of your time in a different country, with a different weather, with a crazy winter that I wasn't used to. That changes the game, changes the way of doing real estate, changes the dynamic of the city. But yeah, I mean, it was a really nice experience because I learned a lot of things. But one of the big takes from that specific moment was that the management team is 70% of your success.
Well, I hope this doesn't sound wrong. Why Detroit?
Well, I I had good experiences with distressed real estate in my country. Okay. So we were trying to find like a specific area in the States where we could have a really low entry ticket, investment ticket, and have a quick turnaround. So we used to buy houses. I can tell you the cheapest house I ever purchased was $12,000, but on the average we were paying between 25 to 28, $30,000. We were putting 15 to 20 in renovations and then renting them out for 900, 1,000, 800, 850 regular market, and also some Section 8s. And that was possible only in Detroit because in other places you have to think about 200 to 20 to 30s, and that allowed us to scale really, really quick.
Was it strictly rentals, like a rental portfolio that you're building there, or were you also flipping as well?
It began being rentals, 100% rentals. And we learned after a period of time that the specific market that we were targeting in terms of rentals was really sensitive to any economic turmoil movement. And we started trying to removing the tenant from the equation, and we stayed flipping because we were good buying. I was good doing the underwriting, and I was good estimating the ARV to sell the properties. So when we remove the tenant from the equation, we basically have a way a faster turnaround, and it was a game changer. But we kept both models coexisting for almost a year and a half. Okay, we had the rental portfolios, and I also started doing the fix and flip in Detroit. That was my college degree to come down to Florida and start doing fix and flip in Florida.
You mentioned that you were investing in real estate back home in Uruguay. How is it different there than it is here?
Black and white. It has nothing to do. Has nothing to do. The law is different. The way of doing business is different. The parties involved in a transaction is completely different. But I always liked the way of doing business in the States. When I was doing this remotely, I did everything from my desk in Uruguay, and I went on site to Detroit to walk the properties and check the properties. But I was fascinated by the online signatures, the online notaries, with everything could be done remotely online. And that was a game changer because we could have quicker processes and faster turnaround for everything. In our country, it's more like physical presence. You have to be there many times for many things. So that was a good beginning to have an idea on how was going to be this in Florida.
And so would you say that experience in your country made you a better investor here?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, because I could develop skills in many areas like creating investment funds and investment structures, raising funds, reporting to investors. It wasn't on a little scale, but it was a really nice school to scale it up to the States.
Where did you learn how to invest in real estate? Was anybody in your family a real estate investor, or just something that you picked up on your own?
Well, not really. My family, we are an agribusiness investment group in my country, so nothing to do mainly with real estate besides some family investments and personal investments. But I started really early in my career to read about real estate and podcasts, and remember Bigger Pockets, and forums, and I used to spend hours and hours on the internet and checking YouTube tutorials and Jerry Norton's and all these guys that they used to teach a lot. But yeah, I mean, we had to learn everything in English. And nowadays, I do a lot of social media and content for the Spanish speaking community. But we had to learn all this in English. There was not good information available in Spanish.
So yeah, I've seen a lot of like what you're posting. I don't understand any of it, but I think it's great to have that resource for the Spanish speaking community. Fast forward to today, what opportunities do you see now for both yourself, the Spanish speaking community, and just real estate investors in general?
Okay. Well, I have this conversation with my kids pretty often. And I tell them that,
How old are you?
They are 9, 12, and 14.
Okay. All right. So
And I have this, yeah, and you? You have kids?
5 and 2, so I still got some time.
5 and 2. Okay, perfect. So I have this conversation with them really, really often, and they sometimes ask me if I think that it's easier to make money today or it was easier in the past. The typical conversation you can have with your grandpa, with your parents. And I tell them that I think that today is an historical moment in which there has never been this amount of free information, resources, technology available to make money from anywhere in the world, in mostly any industry. You think AI, all the things that is happening with AI, people is able to create wealth at younger ages. So education, that's why education for the Spanish speaking community, for the Hispanic community, for me is so important. And I have this conversation with them really, really often. And I think in terms of opportunity, that there's a lot of things to do in the space. I think that first place, AI is a game changer. It's already changing our lives. And real estate in 5 years is going to be so different than the real estate we know right now, that or you adapt to it or you will be out of the equation. Absolutely. This is not a thing of I like it or I don't like it. It is a thing or I step in or I don't step in. And if you don't step in, forget, you will be part of a different generation, completely out of business. So in terms of new business, we have combined our skills with underwriting deals and analyzing properties with our sales preferences and skills in love for sales. And what began as an internal sourcing of off-market deals to fit my fix and flip operation in Florida developed into a virtual wholesale real estate company. So nowadays we are doing 100% virtual real estate wholesaling in Florida, Georgia. Then we added Tennessee, North Carolina, Alabama, and Texas. Because after creating a team of acquisitions, transaction coordination, dispositions, you have all the lead generation, could be cold calling with data that we purchase from your company or PPC, whatever. I mean, having the structure for Florida or for all the 50 states is the same. I mean, at the end of the day, you usually have to grow in the number of team members that you have. And that's the big difference that I've found with fix and flip. Fix and flip it's scalable at a certain level, up to a certain level. Okay, there's a moment that you can definitely scale and replicate fix and flip and keep doing things well and being profitable consistently. So in my case, the maximum amount of projects I handle at the same time is 15 projects. I don't handle more than 15 projects at the same time. Right now, that the market has has slowed down a bit here in Florida, and things have really cooled down. We're going back to 4 or 5 projects at the same time. But on the other hand, we developed this virtual real estate wholesaling company that is doing really, really well. So we can combine both things, and I think that's a game changer. And this is the answer to my first statement with a conversation with my kids. We were able to develop this virtual wholesaling company because of all these technologies that we have available today.
How are you adapting AI into your business currently?
Well, right now we have a project to replace cold calling for AI cold callers.
Wow.
Yeah. There are some regulatory issues that we have to see how to solve and how to figure it out. But yeah, you can imagine that in the future, if the regulation gives some sort of green light, we could think in non-human call centers. It's crazy. But AI doesn't get tired, doesn't go on vacation. It's a fixed amount per month. It doesn't have bonuses. You have a lot of advantages, and it learns all the time. It's constantly learning call after call after call after call. So it improves the method for the next call. So one of the things we are going and we are trying to implement, let's see how it goes, is getting into cold calling via AI agents.
It's smart. Is your goal to have your wholesaling operation nationwide?
Well, one of the biggest lessons I've learned in my life is this country is so big, so big, that it has 2 things at the same time. First, you have the most amount of opportunities available, but it's also the best space to get distracted and lose your focus. So one thing that I want to do is go step by step, try to be solid and have solid systems on the markets we are doing right now. We are in 5, 6 states. It's a pretty decent amount of states. But yeah, after you have it, you can go nationwide, except from those states that still have some regulation, gray areas. But yeah, could be. That's why I'm saying that this wholesaling business model is really scalable.
One of the things that impresses me about you and has impressed me is your opportunity to, your ability to spot opportunity and take action and go after it. What would you say is like your superpower as an entrepreneur to have gotten you to where you are right now?
Thank you, man. Thanks so much for that. I have always been good at and I have always improved my skill of diagnosing the opportunity, identifying the key players to make it happen, creating the structure, and then put it to work and just keep myself in charge of having my KPIs and monitoring that everything is going well. That has always been my skill. I like sales. I do like sales. I don't like admin stuff. I don't like financial stuff. I don't like all the things related to bookkeeping and all that thing. I hate it. But yeah, I think that has been my superpower: creating structures and teams.
What does your team currently look like?
My team currently looks like, well, the part of lead gen, we are having 6 cold callers right now. Then in acquisitions, we have 3 guys right now, a transaction coordinator, and 2 people at Dispo. A Dispo manager and a Dispo assistant.
How many people are here in the United States versus like virtual assistants and people overseas?
Well, from the whole team that I told you, is just 3 of us here locally.
Oh, wow.
Then lead gen is overseas. sales assistant and dispo assistant is overseas, and it's me and my partner here, and the TC is local too. Yeah.
Who manages your flips?
Well, right now we have a structure in which my wife is like the project manager of the projects, and she's in touch with every GC that leads specific areas.
It's interesting. I don't think I knew that your wife was involved. What's her background? Like as far as like what did she do before real estate?
Well, she's a dentist. Okay. She doesn't practice the dentist here.
Wow.
We both come from sciences branches of the life. I studied molecular biology. Okay. DNA, etc. That was my bachelor's. Then I realized that I didn't really like it, and I was never gonna make really good money with that. So let's be honest. And then I did financial, and I have an MBA in management and management. Yeah, administration management. Yeah.
Smart. All right. Fast forward. Talking about your wholesale operation. This is a shameless plug for Pinpoint Skip. How have you used Pinpoint Skip's data to find deals, and what's been your success so far?
Man, your data. I mean, honest. It's not because you have me here. I'm gonna be really honest, and I recommend it to everyone. Your data has been a game changer. Before starting Pro Home Ventures, that is my company dedicated to wholesaling, I used to try to wholesale like different attempts in a couple of years that didn't went well with the usual data providers. I don't know if I can name them, but just to say like the usual one, PropStream and Batch Leads and this and that, etc. And this call center and this other one and this guy and this Filipino and this guy from anywhere. And it didn't work. Okay. Didn't work. We had a really low skip tracing ratio, a lot of wrong phone numbers, etc. What I liked about your data is that we focus on a specific type of buyer of list, and you know that is absentee owners that have 40 to 100% equity in their houses, single families, individual owned, not LLC, not corporation, not trust, etc. And we go to a property value up to 400K max. That's our sweet spot, and that's where we have been hammering and focusing. And what I can tell you is that with your data, we are having we have 10,000 records per cold caller per month. Every cold caller brings us average two leads per day. Okay, so at the end of the day, running KPIs really quick, I can tell you that we are at 30 leads to a contract. We have only 25% cancellation rate, and our average assignment fee right now is $23,000. Okay, so that's how our KPIs look right now, and I would say that most part of that is thanks to your data.
That's amazing. What impresses me, or what I can tell you, is 1 out of every 30 leads turning into a contract. Amazing. And then also only a 25% contract fallout rate's amazing too. In this business, it's somewhere between like 40 and 60%. And so that's a testament to your team and the business that you've built. What advice would you give to someone who's starting out in this business and trying to crack into their like first deal?
Well, going back to what you mentioned about the low cancellation rate, we are very picky at underwriting the deals, and that's where I come from. I've been flipping for a lot of years right now. So every time we are underwriting a deal, and when I coached the dispo guys and the acquisition guys, I always try to be on the fix and flip investor shoes. Okay, and I try to ask myself, would I buy this at this price? And that constant activity of underwriting for the last 5-6 years has given me the ability to, you give me an address anywhere in the States and give me 5 minutes and I'll tell you the ARV plus minus 5%. And I will suggest a price for a fix and flip investor. And I will suggest a price for a buy and hold investor. Okay. So being so strict in the underwriting criteria on the deals we take helps us a lot in closing those deals and getting a buyer for those deals. So one piece of advice that I would say is, I think that 90% of, did you know that 90% of wholesaling, the people that start doing wholesaling, they won't be doing it in 1 year, and that's because they have a really high cancellation rate. It's because they're just crazy to get contracts and contracts and contracts. And I always tell my team, if you guys calculate the amount of money and energy you're going to spend in a contract that is going to be canceled, you will change your business completely. Because I prefer to let some opportunities go that maybe other colleagues from the space would take, just to be sure that we have 70%, 80% chances of assigning the contract or double closing or whatever, So I think that's the best piece of advice I would do. You'd rather have 1-2 contracts per month that are gonna close than 10 contracts and then you have to cancel 7. Those 7 will consume your team energy, money, attitude, morale, and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's nothing worse than having to cancel a contract, other than losing a deal to another investor. That always sucks too. All right, so
it's part of the game.
Yeah, seriously. So I always ask this question out of curiosity, because I feel like in real estate we see like the lowest of the low. What would you say is your craziest real estate story?
I have a bunch, but I'll tell you one at the very beginning. I was buying the rental portfolio in Detroit, traveling once a month there, and I used to have a guy that was like, I didn't say a bodyguard, but he was like a handyman that I had. He was kind of bodyguard, He would be always with me. I mean, just protect me. I was in this spare condition there. And once I remember, I landed in Detroit and I said, no, I have to see this property right now because I have it on the contract. I want to see it. I couldn't wait for him. And I just went straight to the house. I got the lockbox, I got everything. And I couldn't open the house with the lockbox code. And I said, well, whatever. I'll check if there's any loose door or whatever. And it was the kitchen door was open. So I got into the property to the kitchen door. So I was walking the property. I always used to get into the property and say, hey, hello. If you're a squatter, if you're here, you have the chance to go out. There's people here. And I started walking the house and I went to the attic. And when I was at the attic, there was 2 wasted guys drugged, I don't know what, and one of them had a gun in the hand. And when he saw me, he did like this to point at me. But when he raised his hand to do this, I was going down the stairs, and I think that I was already in the driveway. And I just flew away from there. And I learned a lesson, and then I always walk everything with my bodyguard.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. That's insane.
Yep. Yep.
All right.
And I bought the house.
Go for it.
I bought that house. Just for the record, I bought it. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. After all that.
Without those guys.
That's awesome. All right, cool. I appreciate your time. How do people get a hold of you?
I appreciate your time, Faisal, the opportunity to be here. The best way to reach out to me is with my Instagram at Flipper Latino. Flipper Latino. That's my Instagram.
Okay, perfect. Leo, you've been an amazing client, friend, host, or guest on the podcast. So I appreciate you, and I'm looking forward to working with you for many years to come.
Likewise, Faisal, thank you for all you do for us in terms of data for the company, and for having me here. It has been a pleasure. I had a blast here with you.
All right. Thanks a lot, Leo. Talk
Thank
soon.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Take care. Talk soon. Bye.
All right. Ooh.